There have been some brazen, daring, and downright insane heists, thefts, and robberies that have taken place in our world, and today, that's what we're here to discuss. From those who managed to rip off art museums, to others who committed some truly perplexing robberies of various institutions, we've got it all here for you. Get ready to be blown away, and maybe even inspired by those tales of out-of-this-world robberies that are as real as it gets. Get prepared for some of the world's biggest heists. 11. Knightsbridge Security Deposit Robbery. On July 12, 1987, Valero Visay, a lawyer's son, and his cohorts pulled off the Knightsbridge Security Deposit Robbery in Chevelle Place, Knightsbridge, England. Visay had arrived in London just the year before from Italy, his native country, and he was already a wanted man for more than 50 robberies. He managed to get help from an inside man, Parvez Latif, the managing director of the center, who was a heavily indebted cocaine user. Two men entered, asked to rent a safe deposit box, and drew weapons after being shown the vault. They then hung a sign telling customers the place was temporarily closed, but still let in other accomplices. They broke open a bunch of safe deposit boxes and stole their contents, which came in at around $60 million before taking off. A bloody fingerprint was found and traced to Visay, who had fled to Latin America, and some of his accomplices were arrested. He returned for his Ferrari though, and ended up walking right into the hands of the police. 10. E.G. Burrell Art Museum. Back in 2008, the E.G. Burrell Art Museum was robbed by three men who walked into the place wearing ski masks in broad daylight. They managed to get their hands on 4 different works from the 19th century, including a Monet, a Van Gogh, a Degas, and a Cézanne, which, together, consisted a $163 million take. What's crazy is that it wasn't the first multi-million-dollar art heist in Switzerland that week, but the second. The E.G. Burrell Art Museum robbery happened on a Saturday, and just the Wednesday before, thieves managed to steal 2 Picassos from a town nearby. That art theft left their owners out $4.4 million. Authorities don't believe the 4 paintings taken out of the E.G. Burrell Museum were targeted specifically, but instead were just in the same room, therefore were easy targets. They went in, pulled a gun, took what they wanted, and left. Very audacious. 9. Banco Central Vault. This heist was pulled off by a lot of people, and they got a lot of money to show for it. Located in Fortaleza, in the Brazilian state of Ceará, Banco Central is, as the name suggests, the central bank of Brazil. The heist took place on August 5, 2005, when burglars tunneled into the bank and took 5 containers containing 50 real notes that were uninsured. The real notes were worth about $71.6 million when converted to American money and weighed roughly 3.5 tons. The burglary happened on a Saturday, and the burglars managed to disable the alarms and various sensors, and the heist wasn't even discovered for 2 days, until the bank opened on Monday. Officials had been trying to decide if the money should be recirculated or destroyed at the time it was stolen, and it was nearly impossible to trace, because there was no order to the bills at the time. The robbers had rented a property 2 blocks from the bank and dug a tunnel 256 feet long to get to it. So far, only 8 of the suspected 25 perps have been arrested, and just $20 million have been recovered. 8. Schiphol Diamond Heist. It's known as one of the largest diamond heists in history, and those that pulled it off got away with it for years. Recently, though, arrests were made, and authorities think they have 7 people responsible for the brazen heist that took place so long ago. It was February 2005, when multiple people managed to sneak into a secure area at the Schiphol airport by stealing, then wearing, KLM Royal Dutch Airline uniforms and driving in a cargo truck to avoid rousing suspicion. They drove up to the KLM truck, containing a massive load of uncut diamonds that were to be delivered to Antwerp, and just loaded them into their own vehicle and left. Early on, 7 people were called in and questioned by police, but they were released due to lack of evidence. The case went cold for years, until 2017, when police received new information and arrested 7 people in connection. It's unclear whether the 7 are the same as the first 7 brought in for questioning. 7. Dar es Salaam Bank Robbery. It was the morning of July 11, 2007, when the Dar es Salaam Bank in Baghdad figured out it had been robbed blind and left virtually moneyless. It was then determined that the insane heist had been pulled off by none other than the bank's own guards, making the crime that much more personal. The bank heist was thought to be masterminded by 2 guards and done by 3, and for some reason, all of the money stolen was American money and not Iraqi dinars. Multiple officials on the case speculated that the guards could have potential connections to militias in the area, considering they got through so many security checkpoints, with the money undetected. The amount they got away with? $282 million. 6. SMBC London Robbery. This is a robbery that came so close, but didn't quite work out the way the robbers had hoped or intended. It seemed as though those involved had everything figured out, but their plan was foiled by some fairly excellent security systems and an inability to fill out online forms correctly. It's unknown exactly how many people were involved in the plan, but only 2 had been arrested and are serving time for their parts in the crime. They stole passwords and employee information, gained access to various large accounts of large corporations, and had planned to move mass amounts of money from said accounts to others offshore. The take they almost had? $229 million. And had they succeeded, it would have been the largest robbery in British history. Had they not filled out forms incorrectly, they might be hiding out in paradise with more money than they could ever spend. But they didn't, and things went terribly wrong for this gang of almost super hackers. 5. Gardner Museum Robbery. This robbery sounds just like the hit movie The Town, except instead of robbing a baseball stadium of money, these guys robbed a museum of its art. On March 18, 1990, 2 men walked into the museum dressed and acting like police officers and told guards they were responding to a disturbance call. They gained entry, tied the guards up, and proceeded to steal 13 different works of art that were valued at right around $500 million. Despite the museum offering a $5 million reward at first, and then upping it to $10 million in 2017 and 2018, the works of art are still missing and no arrests have been made. The FBI does have a couple of suspects though. Bobby Donati, a gangster from Boston, is thought to have possibly been involved, although he passed away in 1991 from gang violence. Robert Gentile, a Hartford, Connecticut gangster, is believed to know where the works are, although he's denied all involvement. The crime stands as the largest value of private property ever stolen. 4. City Bonds Robbery. The day was May 2, 1990, when a 58-year-old messenger for a money broker called Sheppards, named John Goddard, was mugged on a quiet street in London at knifepoint. He was transporting Bank of England certificates of deposit and Treasury bills. The bonds were basically as good as cash to anyone who possessed them because they were in bearer form, so it became a big problem when the mugger took them. The man who took the money escaped with 301 certificates of deposit and Treasury bills, each worth about £1 million apiece. The gang responsible ended up infiltrated, arrests were made, and all but 2 of the 301 stolen bonds were recovered due to the police managing to get themselves an informant. 1 man was charged and served 6 years for his part in the crime, and 4 others got charged for handling bonds, but they did not end up with any jail time. 3. Antwerp Diamond Heist. This is literally the heist of the century, considering it took place in 2003, and still nobody really knows just how it was pulled off. During the weekend of February 15th and 16th, 2003, thieves managed to take gold, jewelry, and loose diamonds from a vault that had all kinds of crazy security protecting it. There were infrared heat protectors, a Doppler radar, a magnetic field, a seismic sensor, and a lock with more than 100 million different combination possibilities. There was also a private security force protecting the building, so it's not entirely known how this was pulled off. What is known is that the authorities believe Leonardo Notarbartolo was behind it, and that he rented out an office down the street prior to the heist. He also gained access to the building by purchasing a safe deposit box and gained credibility and trust by posing as a diamond merchant. And that's about all that's known about this method. The diamonds are still out there, somewhere. 2. Central Bank of Iraq. Do you want to hear about the largest bank robbery in history? Of course you do. Want to know who pulled off this great and massive robbery? Well, none other than Saddam Hussein himself. Before looters really got their chance to steal from the Central Bank of Iraq when Americans entered Baghdad in 2003, Hussein had already made a withdrawal of around $1 billion. Looters had entered the bank and taken what they could, but they were unable to open the vault and steal anything from there. The day before the Americans entered the city, on March 18th, 3 large trucks pulled up outside the bank, and Hussein's son, Qusay Hussein, hopped out. he delivered a handwritten note to the bank's governor, which stated that the money would be moved for security reasons, and it was signed by Saddam. His cash didn't stay hidden very well though, and American troops began finding and stealing it all over the Middle East. We've seen a lot of crazy acts of theft so far, and we still have one more to go. But first, we'd like to ask you, what are some of your favorite robberies or heists we may not have covered here? We'd love to read your answers in the comments below so we can look into them for future videos. 1. Stefan Brightwise. So, we already learned about the largest bank robbery in the world, so how could that ever be topped? Well, a man who's been called the world's most consistent art thief, Stefan Brightwise, may just have Saddam beat. Between 1995 and 2001, Brightwise stole 239 works of art and other exhibits in 172 museums, all while traveling throughout Europe, working as a waiter. The amount he stole and how quickly he did it amounted to a work stolen around every 15 days. The thing about him, though, that differs from other art thieves is that he didn't steal the works for profit, but instead took them to build up his own personal art collection. He would typically cut the works from their frames and tuck them into his clothing to smuggle them out. He was captured in 2001 after stealing a bugle in Switzerland from the Richard Wagner Museum. He was spotted by a guard on the way out and returned to the museum 2 days later, only to be recognized by the guard and arrested. He's been in and out of jail for his crimes ever since. If you enjoyed this video, do us a favor and leave it a like. Subscribe to our channel below or by clicking on our logo right here so that you never miss out on any of our amazing uploads. And check out this awesome video that we've hand-selected just for you.